So for this class, you're going to need a die cut machine. This is a Spellbinder's Artisan Explorer. You can also use the Grand Caliber or whatever die cut machine you have. Going to be your cutting plates, texture plates. These are Spellbinder's texture plates. Going to need dies. I am using dies from the Media Mixage set. Going to need a sheet of copper. This is just the thin tooling copper that you buy at the craft store. Pretty thin, comes in a roll. You're going to need a soldering iron. I use a Weller 100P, it's just one that I prefer. You can use any stained glass soldering iron if you're starting out. You need solder. You're going to need flux. I like to use the gel flux because when you brush it on, it doesn't go anywhere. And this is a jeweler's third hand or a extra hand tool. Has some little clips on it. You can use, pliers, or you'll need a sponge, a wet sponge, and a tray or heat-proof surface to do your soldering over so you don't burn your house down. So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to lay out my dies onto my base plate, trying to get them as close together as I can so that I don't waste my copper sheet because it's expensive, and the closer you get them, the less waste you have. So once you get your dies organized how you want, or perhaps you just have one, try to lay your copper sheet. Try to get it as close as you can to the edge with just a little overlap in case they move or slide, and then we'll cut. Okay, you can cut your copper sheet with a pair of scissors because it's pretty thin. Just make sure you use gloves. Protect your hands. It is metal and it is sharp and it will cut you, so please be careful while you're cutting your copper sheet and handling it because those corners are sharp. You can snip the corners if you're worried about cuts. It's a good idea. Okay, and I'm just going to lay that over the top of my dies on top of the base plate. And I'm going to take the cutting plate and lay it over the top, and then I can run it through the Artisan Explorer. You can just roll it through. And it will cut out all those pieces for you. I usually like to run mine through twice just to make sure I got them nice and cut, because sometimes that copper can be a pain. So just keep running that through, then we'll throw it back through and run it through one more time. Now when you're removing your pieces from your punched copper, you see the die is still attached. Before I pull the die off, I will wiggle the copper back and forth a little bit on each side, just to make sure that it is, sometimes not the entire thing won't release, so wiggling it back and forth just kind of makes that crease and allows it to cut and punch out nicely. And you just have to be very careful and it will come off. So, and then you have your punched piece. Remove it from the die, and there you go. Now, once you have all your pieces cut, for this bracelet, I have punched one of the large ones and 2 of the small ones. Now, since I only have 1 die, I just ran it back through again with the same die along with this one, because I wanted 2 of the triangles for another piece. So I just ran the triangle and this one through once more to cut out a second piece of the same piece. So you have your heart with the center punched out with another heart. You have 2 triangles, a large house and a small house, a large focal piece for your bracelet. Let's say this is a bracelet that I made with the same die. It has the focal piece, and then it has a side piece and another side piece. So that's why you need 2. So now that we've got our pieces punched, we're going to do the texture. But before we do the texture, we're going to put a very thin coat of the solder on each side. So thin that it really just colors the copper silver, not really putting down any kind of a layer of solder. It's just a very thin application of the solder, and I will show you how to do that in the next step.